Welcome back to the book club. This time the novel is A Place of Secrets by Rachel Hore. I love this. It's a mystery, it's also a romance, and it's set in beautiful rural Norfolk. It has a real sense of the landscape.
And it's supernatural.
And it's supernatural, and there's a hint of reincarnation, everything you could possibly want. And Rachel's here to join us to talk about it. Yes, I did love it. It's a very well constructed book, because just to sort of put it, it starts in modern, it is set in modern times, but a substantial part of it is as a result of these journals, these
diaries.
Letters
from
or
the
diaries
18th century,
from the 18th century. So tell us about it. Jude is the heroine, short for Judith, like this. And she's a widow, but a very young widow.
She is. She's only in her mid-30s.
And what happened to her husband?
He died in an accident. The thing is about him was that he was her first love, and when she finally got married to him, she thought it was going to be happy ever after.
Right.
And when everything went wrong, she couldn't absorb this.
No.
And in some ways, her life at the beginning of this book has come to a complete stop.
Right.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Because she can't move on.
And she's going out with this bloke who's a kind of city-type slicker.
That's right, Casper,
you know,
yes.
Casper, with a name like Casper.
Yes.
Who she's attracted to, but he's very, although, you know, he's obviously more involved, feels more about her than he lets on at the beginning, but he's obviously not the right guy.
He's not the one.
No, he's rather glossy and a bit of a workaholic, and he doesn't take any notice of what deep feelings, really.
Well, the book begins in London and very swiftly moves to the place that defines it, really. It really is a book of a place, a lovely part of Norfolk. It's in the Norfolk countryside. You think it's really, in real life, sort of near Holt?
Oh, it is
around there.
Yes, it is. Yeah. It's a made-up place, but it's near
Yes.
Holt. It's called the Starborough Estate, and it's a country house with a forest and a park, and it's got a wonderful 18th century folly in the deep forest.
The tower.
On a hill. Well, the reason that Jude goes there is she's basically she studies historical documents, and this particular era is her period.
Yes, she's an auctioneer.
She's an auctioneer,
yes. And she's a bit of a specialist.
And she gets a phone call one day, quite at random, from somebody in this wonderful place, Starborough Hall, saying that they've got some documents and some materials which are to do with 17th century astronomy.
18th century.
I'm so sorry, 18th century astronomy. So she goes to value them, and that's really where the story starts, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. She has connections with the area. Her sister lives there, and her mother and her grandmother. And so when she comes to Starborough, she quickly realises that there are connections between her and the place.
And this is where the sort of the very mystical side of the novel starts, because Jude has been having dreams since she was nightmares, really, since she was a child, which have recently returned, of her being lost in a forest and calling for her mother, calling in French for her mother, maman, she said. And she has a sister who still lives in Norfolk, who is unmarried but has a little girl, Summer, who's 6. And this child is beginning to experience exactly the same dreams as her aunt, Jude.
Yes.
It's all linked together by the grandmother, Jude's grandmother, who used to know a gypsy girl in the forest, and that's when all the threads come together. And as Jude goes and studies the ancient manuscripts, she discovers these, which are very fashionable, aren't they now? I mean, into astronomy. It was a kind of a very fashionable...
That's right, as the late 18th century being a great age of scientific discovery, with astronomers like William Herschel.
Yeah. So these books will probably, and instruments and things, are probably worth a great deal of money, and the owner of Starborough Hall desperately needs to sell, because the roof's falling in around him and he needs to do it.
But the trick, the trick that you have to pull off is to make us believe that there really is a connection, a mystical connection, a psychic connection between the niece and the aunt, and indeed a link that goes all the way back in the story, and is also linked to these diaries that are found. And you've done that. So you must, at some fundamental level, have believed that it was possible. That it was possible for there to be this sort of psychological connection between people who've never met before. That they have the same dreams and they're almost reliving the same life experiences.
Yes, I suppose the link between everything is the place, the sense of place. And it's this old folly in the forest, which is a tower, which is the centre of the story in the present and the past, which is the link.
And which has this very, initially at least, this very forbidding atmosphere, so the locals won't go near it. It's been
it's a haunted spot, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So there is a central mystery here, which I think in the end I don't spell out.
No, you don't actually. You don't. At the end, you don't break down to what, how the mystery works. But we know it. We know it's working. We know there's something going on in that parallel world almost.
Yeah.
It must have needed. I mean, it's the way you talk about 18th century astronomy, and it's not frightening in any sense. It doesn't put off the layperson at all. But you must have needed to do an awful lot of research.
I did quite a bit of reading, yes, and I also visited a local observatory in Norfolk.
Right.
And they were a very friendly lot there at Seething Observatory, and I looked through their telescopes, and the secretary there was very, very helpful.
I was fascinated by the fact that I didn't know this, that the early astronomers, they had to make their own telescopes. They didn't go down to some sort of local emporium or down to the city and buy them. They had to grind their own lenses.
That's right. They were doing everything from basics, using developments in optics to make...
And what do you think drove them? Because it really is, in the case of the character back in the 18th century, it's his abiding passion in his life, apart from the girl that he's adopted. It's what drives him, it's what defines him. What was it, do you think?
Perhaps, you know, if you go out into the countryside on a clear starlit night and you look up, you're doing something that people have done for generations. You wonder at the stars, you wonder what's out there. You might wonder on a scientific level as to what all these different stars are and how far away and that sort of thing. But there's also the mystical side of it, that feeling, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it makes you feel so small and unimportant in a way, which is actually strangely calming rather than disturbing.
Well, I must say, when I was a teenager, my father bought quite a nice telescope, and for the first time I looked at the Moon and Mars and Saturn all on one evening through it, and was blown away, because although the images I was seeing weren't as clear and sharply defined as great photographs that are taken through telescopes, I was seeing them for real. You know?
Yes.
And it struck me on that very first night when I was 15 or 16, what it must have been like for these early astronomers. I go back to Galileo. To be the first humans to point a telescope at a planet and see it for what it really is, and to see the moons around them, it must have blown them away.
Yes, and of course all the mystical attributes of astrology and the way stars are part of many people's mythology and culture.
I love the way you do that in the book, because everything, I mean, the place is called Starborough Hall, Starborough Folly. Her sister's gift shop thing is called Star Boutique or Star Bureau.
The Star Bureau.
The Star Bureau, and the name Esther, who is the young girl who writes the journals in the 18th century that Jude discovers. Esther also means star, which I had no idea.
No, I didn't know that. No idea.
Well, some people say it means the myrtle flower, which is a white star-shaped flower.
Right. Yeah.
Do you find Starborough Hall a slightly sinister name? Because I do. Just the shape and the sound of the name Starborough. There's something hard and slightly creepy about it. Am I imagining it?
I suppose you could be right, but various dark as well as happy things have happened there.
And of course, the monument, the folly in the forest, is associated with death. I mean, there's been quite a recent death there, hasn't there? A student.
Yes.
All right, I won't say anymore.
Yes.
No. You're being very protective of your story, actually. You're only just giving a tiny bit.
It's a lovely story, and I have to say that as well as a genuine mystery, it's also a love story with a very nice happy ending, which it's great when you get one like that. And it's fascinating. Thank you very much indeed, Rachel. And we would, of course, as always, love to hear from you. You can post your views on this book and all our books on our website, which is... I
will just consult the silver screen. I can't remember this. Give me a break. It's www.WHSmith.co.uk/Richard and Judy. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and you can also vote for your favourite.
Yes, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.